Hey building team, just wanted to share this video with you, or really this presentation, so that you all are aware of what I'm sharing with finance on Thursday, February 27th. This is just kind of my take, my research and kind of realization of where we are and where we need to get to be able to make this new building happen. I deeply appreciate your work and how hard you are working to make this building happen. And I think there is a path. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy path, but there is a path to affordability. And that's what this presentation is all about. So I wanted to share with you just so that you're aware, because I think transparency and being all on the same page is very important. So this is what I'm going to share with finance, so as they can make some decisions about capital campaigns coming up. And I just wanted you all to be aware of it as well. So here is the presentation that I'll be sharing. So let's look at how we can afford this new building project. You all are well aware that there is how much the building cost is estimated at $3.5 million, and then we would added the soft costs and other things. By the time we get to the building, we're probably looking at more like $4 million. But just for the sake of easy numbers, we're going to say that this building will cost us exactly $4 million. I see basically four different ways to build revenue for this project. One is through capital campaigns, or basically asking church members to give towards this process. It's how we got the new building, where people gave generously, and is definitely going to revolve around people digging deep and giving sacrificially to this project. But then also we need to look at the legacy endowment, which is undesignated funds and can be used for a building project like this. The Thigpen Trust, which they were instrumental in helping the new building being built, and I'm pretty sure that they are looking to help with this new building as well. And then also some grants. I do know the Cannon Foundation gives to churches who are doing building projects. You all, I think, received around $30,000 from them when we did the education building. And so we'll definitely ask again, and also look for other places where we might be able to receive funds. But these are the four major funds that I see, or four ways that we could access revenue for this project. I reached out and had a meeting with A.J. Thomas, who works at the United Methodist Foundation. He's the one who helped us get the loan for the new parsonage. And I asked him about this project, showed him what I'm about to show you all, and we talked about what is really affordable for our congregation. What is really important to know is the United Methodist Foundation uses a debt-to-income ratio of 35% to see if a church is able to afford the type of loan that they are giving. And so what that means is that the yearly payments towards a debt of a church that the church could afford can be no more than 35% of the income during that year. And so in this next slide, you'll understand that a little bit better. But that kind of gives you the framework of how much they think that we are able to afford for a loan. These are very rough calculations, and so we didn't spend a whole lot of time figuring them out exactly. We would definitely do that if we became serious about requesting a loan. But right now, what we're thinking, between AJ and I talked, Milford Hills brings in roughly $500,000 a year. That is through our regular giving, but then also the Thigpen Trust and the endowment. And so when we look at those three kind of revenue streams, we bring in about $500,000. So 35% of $500,000 is $175,000, that's how much we could afford per year to give towards debt. And so if you look at a 15-year loan times 175, you get $2.6 million. You don't have to be a genius to find out that's short of $4 million. And AJ did a quick kind of estimate about our limit for a loan, and he said he'd probably think that the loan committee wouldn't do anything above 1.75 for us. Actually, 3.25 is the largest loan that they've ever given to a church, and that was Davidson, and their yearly budget is $3 million. Just to kind of give you perspective. I'm not saying we'd have to get a loan through the United Methodist Foundation. This is purely just to kind of get the ball rolling to see what it is that we could truly afford. So therefore, if the project costs $4 million, if the possible loan tops out at $1.75 million, then where do we find that extra $2.25 million to round off that $4 million need for the project? Where do we account for this shortfall, and how do we come up with that money? And so this is kind of just an idea and just a way to kind of get the ball rolling to think positively about our future and to see if this is actually an affordable project. So let's talk about the Legacy Endowment. If you don't know or if you haven't heard about the Legacy Endowment, it was started by Steve Surratt's bequest. When he passed away, he left his entire estate to the church. We're still waiting for one final check from them, but we have been given a little over, we've been given right at $1.5 million so far out of his estate. That is held in the United Methodist Foundation's Diversified Fund. This is one of the fastest, or I should say most aggressive funds that they have. It's year to date, its percentage was 13.44%. 5-year average has been 7.92%, and for the lifetime of the fund, which I'm pretty sure is over 20 years, is 7.88%. And so we started the Legacy Endowment with the first $1 million that came from the estate in 2022. That year was not great, and we lost money. We lost $13,000 at the end of the year. So at the end of 2022, we are down to $887 or $887,000. At the end of 23, we bounced back. We had over $1 million in the fund again. And then in 2024, we also added the rest of that $500,000 to kind of finish the whole bequest that we had promised. And we almost made $100,000 that year. So we're almost at $1.6 million, or we might be at this point in 2025. The way the Legacy Endowment figures out how they are going to remove money is they take a 3-year average of the endowment and then take 4% of that yearly average. And so currently with 22, 23, and 24, we have 3 years now, the average is $1.165 million. And 4% of that 3-year rolling average is $46,606. When the Legacy Endowment team meets next week, we'll be talking about removing that $46,606 from the endowment and how we might use that in the life of the church. Knowing how disbursements are calculated for the endowment, I did a projection over the next 15 years to figure out how much money would be coming from the endowment. I used 6% for this projection. If you remember, the lifetime interest rate for this where the endowment is held is 7.88%, and so I'm not promising the full 7% because I don't know what it's going to do in the next 15 years. But I decided 6% is probably a good guess, and at least gives us something to go off of. So using 6% in 2025, which we are in now, at the start of that year, it was worth almost $1.6 million. By 2028, we'll cross over at 6% a year. We'll cross over that $2 million mark, and we'll be able to disperse $76,203 to be used for ministry in the church. By 2033, we'll be at $2.7 million, which puts us over $100,000 worth of disbursements every year. And 15 years from now, the endowment will be at $3.8 million projected, and we could access $142,000 for that year. So what that means is that over the next 15 years, almost $1.4 million will be dispersed from the Legacy Endowment. So this is definitely going to be a huge benefit to the life of the church. This is also thinking that it stays at the current, that no one else puts any money in. We're definitely going to be encouraging other people to give to the Legacy Endowment so that endowment can continue to grow and more money can be dispersed every year. And so this is just if no one else gave to this fund and what it could be projected to do over the next 15 years. Another source of revenue is the Thigpen Trust. If you don't know what that is, Miss Thigpen, she gave the church access to a trust. She collected bonds every paycheck and then put them together, and they were worth almost $1 million. And so the church has the ability to accept a check every July from that trust. We have no way to touch the money. We have no access to that. However, we do accept the check every single July. That July check has varied from year to year. In 2022, we received a check for $43,000 in July, and then in August an additional $9,000, which means we received $52,000 for that year. In 23, it was $46,000. In 2024, this last year, it was $44,000. And so for the projections that I'm going to be showing here shortly, I just use $40,000 as a good avenue. Hopefully that is undercutting our abilities with the Thigpen Trust, but it is also making it it's showing what could be possible. And so At $40,000 over the next 15 years, that is $600,000 that we possibly could access towards helping in this project. Now, using those two resources, well, actually, as you look at this slide, please know I haven't asked Legacy Endowment or Thigpen Trust about this idea, and they have not given any permission. I am just offering a suggestion and seeing where it might go. But my idea is, what if we use 2/3 of the money that comes in from the Legacy Endowment and Thigpen Trust every year for the next 15 years to help fund the capital campaign? On the left side, you see the Legacy Endowment. That is 2/3 of the disbursements from the endowment every year. And the Thigpen Trust, that's 2/3 of $40,000 every year for the next 15 years. What this means is that over the course of 15 years, we could access $1.3 million for the capital campaign, all while still leaving $663,000 for ministry in the life of the church. We definitely don't want to undercut our ministries and our possibilities to adapt to what our new realities are as we live into those 15 years. But what this process could lead is 1.3 towards capital campaign and $600,000 plus towards the ministry in the life of the church. One other potential thing I want to throw into the mix, but we're really kind of early in that process, and not to stomp on the development team's joy here shortly with their presentation, but some of the ideas that we're looking at are in the next couple of years being able to have rental income for our church with some couple spaces around our church. My idea, once again, hasn't been approved yet, but my idea was that the rental income will be split into thirds: a third to capital campaign, a third to property improvement, and a third to the general budget. This allows us to hopefully move into a new building and update our current facilities, but then it also allows us to take care of our facilities, the facilities that we will be renting. And it also helps provide for the utilities and the extra administrative costs that will have to happen with Blake as well. So it's a good way of helping out the entire church with that through the rental of our property. Once again, more about that to come. I don't want to spoil too much, but what this potentially could do is offer an additional $13,200 a year to the capital campaign, or close to $200,000 over the course of 15 years. So what does this all mean? Here's the final analysis. We need $4 million for the new building. Putting the Thigpen, the Legacy Endowment, and potential rentals together, we can have an additional $1.5 million towards this project. Thigpen is currently sitting on well over $300,000. I know they've been waiting for the potential of this project, and so once again, haven't asked them, but they might be willing to give $300,000 automatically to us so that we could move forward with the architectural plans and the things that have to happen in the early beginnings. But what that means, if you add all of that together, we will need to raise, as a church, through capital campaigns and maybe some grants, $2.2 million. Because of the way loans work, we would have to probably have that in the bank, or a lot of it in the bank, before we could start this project. Because although we will be receiving $1.5 million through those different revenue streams, a construction company is not going to wait till year 15 to be paid at 100%. And we can't afford the $1.75 million loan currently either. And so we will have to dig deep and do some major saving and fundraising before we are able to start this project. And that's just my analysis. There might be another way to look at this, but this is kind of how, as I was researching and looking at things, how I view where we are as a church. I'm not saying it's impossible. God has done some amazing things through the life of our church and through the people called Milford Hills, and I believe God will continue to do so. But that also means that we're going to have to do some work, and that we're going to have to dig deep and truly look at what is possible. We will need to continue to pray. Proverbs 16:9, that we are going to plan our path, but the Lord is going to secure our steps. And we're going to need the Lord to secure our steps pretty heavily as we move into this. We also need to continue to pray our breakthrough prayer, which states that God, the powerful and the God that we worship, can do more than we could ever imagine through us. And so we do have a large task ahead of us, but we're not saying it is impossible. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to have more conversation. I simply wanted to create this video so that you knew what I was presenting to finance on Thursday, and that you are aware of where we kind of stand financially and what a path of affordability might look like. So I'm not saying this is going to exactly the way it's going to happen. It's just an idea that I'm putting out there to finance, and we'll see where things go. So we never know what might happen as this news gets out to the greater church either. And so we just kind of continue to pray that Proverbs 16:9, and also that breakthrough prayer, which says that God can do in and through us more than we could ever imagine. And so thank you for your hard work. We're going to continue to do so, continue to pray, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, if you have any questions, or if you want some clarification or some deeper understanding on my numbers and how I got there, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to have a conversation. Take care.